I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Pleased to have as a guest today Steve Winfield. Steve Winfield is the driving force behind the Dave Winfield Student Athletic Awards. We're talking about that program that's moving into its 43rd year. It's a wonderful thing. Steve, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Before we start, let me thank our sponsor. Our sponsor for this program, our sponsors for this program include Old National Bank and Twin Cities Home Ownership Alliance. Thank them for their support. So, at the heart of the Winfield Awards is a story of personal success. Success motivated by a passion to achieve greatness and a desire to give back to the family and community in which Dave Winfield grew up. The Winfield Awards was created in 1977 to encourage young people of color, and it has benefited more than 410 deserving young men and women. The Winfield Awards Committee's primary concern is not the awards themselves, but what the awards seek to accomplish. As young people strive to become finalists, whether successful or not, they have all made strides towards maximizing their potential. In the process, they're making progress towards becoming motivated, contributing adults who not only better themselves, but their families and communities as well. Steve, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Let me just have you build on that. You know, as you and the family developed and brought this exercise online, what discussions did you have among yourselves about what is needed and what you could do to help fill the need in our community?
Well, actually, it was some community people, people like, it's almost like my big brother, Frank White, and Al Nunes, and, myself, and, a number of other community people talked about, there were some different awards out there recognizing young people in the state, but a number of those didn't really kind of include us in it, any of the kids of color. And so we talked with my brother David and talked about it'd be nice if we had an award instead of just honoring one person. How about if we honor a number of people and some young men and young women? And we said, how about 5 boys and 5 girls? And it's not good enough for them just to be jocks. We said having good grades in school and participate in things in the community. Those are all important parts of being a complete person and growing up in this world. And so we started it back then, and instead of waiting till somebody dies and you name something after them, a lot of times we said, hey, we got Dave Winfield who's alive, and we didn't know how far his career was going to go, and ended up being a nice long career. But so we named it after him, Dave Winfield Minority Student Athlete Awards. And we've just been fortunate, we've been blessed to keep going. All of a sudden it's 43 years.
And you've touched so many lives. It's the beautiful thing, and I'm sure you've had surprises. I think you probably have stories about things you didn't expect to happen, or outcomes that amazed you, that gave you joy and satisfaction because of the impact on both individual and community lives. Anything come to mind at all?
Well, I think sometimes you look out of those, 400 plus young people that we've given recognition to, and we've dealt with basically the kids have to live in St. Paul or go to school in St. Paul or both, and just see how some of the things that they've accomplished. We have some people who, I could name some people. There's like, probably off the top of my head, the first one is Melvin Carter, the mayor. He was one of our outstanding student athlete awards winners. And then there's Lisa Lissamore, who's works with the State High School League. And we've got Mitch McDonald, Dr. Mitch McDonald. A lot of people who know Kwame. That's Kwame's, the late Kwame's son.
And Mitch was a former reporter for Insight News, a columnist for Insight News. So
there you go. Yeah. And Dr. Val Little's butler. She's assistant principal at Central High School, and I hope she gets a chance to be principal there since the present principal is retiring. And so, just a lot of good people who've come out of there. In fact, there's a young man, Rosario, who was one of our former winners. His dad was one of our winners back in '81.
So
and
multi-generational.
yeah, so, there's a number of people who have done well and have come through, and, you say doctors, and there's some people in the legal field. There's people who've just done a lot of community things, law enforcement, so a lot of things. So just proud of them, just proud to see how they've represented the community well.
You produce a great program book. This is a sample of last year's book for the 42nd Annual Winfield Awards. You'll be doing that again. When is the awards this year? And I love this book because it just has such a lot of information, and it's wonderful to list the names of both recipients and supporters, because I think we don't give ourselves credit enough. And you take the time to thank people and to give credit and shine a spotlight on those who are doing the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah, well, again, you see the book, and it is good to, we don't have any winners and other people are losers. It's like all 10 kids get recognition, and the top winners maybe get 1,000 each, and the other awardees, they're all awardees, and they're all recognized and all appreciated, and they get money for college also, so wherever they want to end up going to school after that. And like I said, each year we list the kids from the kids, I guess, young people from the past, and there, so you could see their names, and you can look back and they say, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, they're doing good, and they're doing many different things. And again, like you said, the sponsors sometimes, from the small businesses that support us over the years, and then there's the big ones too that, as you appreciate.
Sure,
the Minnesota
absolutely.
Twins have been one of our big sponsors over the years, and just really appreciate. It's like a nice community event. There's so many negative things that are sometimes in the news that it's just a nice family affair on that first June and that first Sunday in June every year. And so people have been coming just about for 40 years who have come to the event and things. And so I really appreciate that.
Well, I can tell you it's so significant, Steve. I mean, phenomenally important that you have taken the time, and you and the team, the colleagues, the organizers and those who stayed with you, to recognize how important it is to hold up our own community and our own young people. And even with the notion that you are awarding outstanding student athletes of color. So it's not just our immediate, black kids. None of our families are black alone anyway, right? And so we really are genuinely part of this idea of communities of color, and you are intentional in reaching towards other communities inside that spectrum. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Well, it's interesting because when we started back then, you could pretty much tell where the kids of color were. They were either going to Central High School, I think Mechanic Arts was closed at that point, or Humboldt on the west side. And so we worked with some cool people over there, Larry Lucio and Donnie Luna, who are, original committee members and part of our board. And, so then you pretty much knew all the kids. You could name them and said, well, we got this person going to Humboldt, we've got this person going to Central. Now, the demographics and things have changed, and there's kids of color and from different countries, who are spread out through all the schools in St. Paul. So it's sometimes it looks like a little United Nations sitting up on the, up in front of the crowd.
It looks like the future.
Yeah,
It is the future.
That's the reality. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's wonderful to be in a position to recognize that and to engage and celebrate it and to lift it up through acknowledging the achievement of young people and the communities that give them, the launching pad to become best citizens. As you say, it's not just about athletics, not about being just a jock, but about being a scholar. And it's not just about being, only the doctors and only the lawyers, but you have people that go into all kinds of professions and they stay connected, they keep giving. You mentioned some other people that are stellar sort of names that have been associated. You mentioned Larry Fitzgerald, for example, and you mentioned some more off camera, but name some of the people that have been involved with the program, because it's good to see that people are connected and stay connected.
Well, we've had, just even some of the people who have spoke to the young people. We usually have a keynote speaker. And even going back to the early days where we had thought that more was better, I think we started at the Martin Luther King Center down in the gym down there. Mm-hmm. Tickets were $5 or something, and we had up on the speaking to the kids, actually, Tony Dungy, who, we know is Hall of Fame NFL coach, and then Michael Thompson, who his son Clay, plays in the NBA. They were both seniors at the U and had the athletic director of the U there and so forth. So we used to try to we thought more was better, but now we just have one person speaking to the people. And we've had some judges speak to the people. We've had the chief of police, speaking to the people, to the young people and to the audience, bringing message to them. We had anywhere from a Mike Max, CCO, but then we've had Daryl Thompson, who, former Gopher, and had Tony Sana, the soccer star who has a great foundation, and just brought in just a lot of different people, males and females, to bring a message to the young people and to the community. It's just so important for people to be there for the young people. And sometimes it's not a complicated thing that you do. And we're not the biggest event going on, but we just try to make it a quality event. And anytime you have community people involved and just being there for the young people, I think that makes such a big difference. I really do.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. My guest is Steve Winfield here on behalf of the Dave Winfield Student Athletic Awards ceremony. It's coming up the first Sunday in June of this year. It's going into its 43rd year, recognizing and lifting up young people in our community, not just athletes, though they start with that and from that, but students who deserve our embrace, our support, our applause, and who have in history given back to community. We set up a condition or an opportunity for these students to give back. Steve, I think the program is just phenomenal, and I guess I'd like to know what our listeners and our readers and viewers can do to support, to show up, number one, but also you may be receptive to either business or individual support, financial support. How can people get involved?
Well, we will have some more information out there. You'll have it to be able to put out there to, be in the papers and in the news and things, but it's always the first Sunday in June, and it's at the Intercontinental Hotel downtown St. Paul. It'll be at 5 o'clock on that Sunday, and people can buy ads to go in the book. They can make donations. They can just come to the banquet, just be there, be a part of what's going on, and so we'll have more information out there, but it's letting you know for sure that that's when it's going to be. It's going to be June 2nd, and it's going to be a good time. And if you want a nice positive thing to go to, sometimes you get tired of hearing the negative stuff on the news. You want to have a good feel-good night, and then that'd be the time to show up and support the young people.
I think that's the message for today. Steve Winfield, thank you so much.
Oh, man, good to see you as
Good
always,
to see
my
you.
man.
I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane, and we'll talk more with people in community about important events. This is what I've always promised. This program presents robust conversations, information that matters. We've done that today. Steve, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening and watching. Okay.